Okay, so we're going to go through a quick demo of my project one. As you can see here, it's all pretty basic. So starting off, we open up the Titanic CSV file, and most importantly, we're splitting that file up there with the comma delimiter. So each individual field is being separated there. So really interestingly, the fields variable, which contains all those separate fields, is being split across a number of variables here. So each individual variable has been named according to the guide up here, and now each of those names or each of those variables are then stored in separate variables for later usage. I've also gotten rid of the quotation marks around the names because they didn't serve any usage as far as calculations and things. I also originally had some code in here which combined the two name fields, first and last name, into the same name. I ended up taking that back out because I needed it later on. I needed them to be together later on, so I commented that out so you can still see it there, but yeah, not being used. So first things first, read the first 10 passenger names with a range, 0 to 10. Easy. So loop through every single one, 0 to 10, and use that integer from that loop as the array index for the passenger list. So passenger list here is going to print that. Basically for each inside this loop, it then loops again 6 times. So basically it will access each of these fields, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, and then they will all be added to a passenger list collection here, which will hold all of that information. The AWK script for question 2 is quite simple. At the beginning, I define the field separator as a comma for CSV, and then each line basically, if the person survived, then we iterate the number of survivors and then print that information at the end there. Okay. So continuing on to question 3, you can see here, write the information of passengers who survived into a CSV file. So most importantly, it's the output file that's being defined there. So we're actually outputting audio now in write mode, as you can see here with the W. The length of the list is being calculated here, basically saying how many passengers are in this list. It's important because that way we can loop up to that point and that point only, so we can say how many loops we want to have based on how long that list is. We create a dictionary which is going to be used just down here. Dictionary is going to be using the dictionary to sort the names, which is useful. Obviously, that's the high point of the question. So we want to sort those names alphabetically, and then get them out into that file there. So here, for each passenger in this range, I've created a tuple, and inside each individual member of that tuple is a multi-dimensional array. So it's an array here and an array there. Sorry, list, not an array. It's similar to an array in C#, so it's like a multi-dimensional jagged situation. So you've got the passenger information there, and then I'm basically rearranging those indices from up here, rearranging them into the order that I need based on their index numbers. So you can see 2, 3, 1, 4, 5, 0. It's going to arrange them in the order that's necessary for when they're being written out down here. Could have done that down there, but yeah, just one way of doing it. And then close the out file, very importantly. So question 4, I'll talk about that in a second. Yep, so question 4 here, we've got the percentage of females who are among all the passengers that survived. Quite a simple one here. Basically, it's two separate integers which are counting this. So looping through every passenger, if they survived, iterate this number. If they are female and they also survived, iterate this number here. Yep, so basically you're going to get the number of females there, so printing that out, all the females, and then the number of overall passengers, printing that out, and then dividing those two numbers together, and then multiplying it by 100 there to give a percentage value. The little percentage symbol here is not being used in the same way as this one. So the double percentage is the actual printing the percentage sign, and just going to hit play on these. Okay, where are we? Yep, so the percentage is being printed out as a symbol here as opposed to being used for an indexer to get that variable in there. I'll also show you the output from my previous questions, might have forgot to do that. So we can see here, passenger number 1, that, and then all the information, just one by one for each of the passengers. Question 2, there's no output there. Question 3, there's no output as well. That's actually going to be in the file, in the separate output file. And there you can see their number, and then percentage. So task 5, a bit more difficult this one. So Basically, it's asking about distributions, so survival rates among the different classes. I decided to use separate lists here. Probably could have used one nested list system, but it's got three separate ones. This one's storing three ints, the same here, and then this one's storing floats because it's going to be percentage values, whereas these are just counters. So basically, for each of these, we iterate over each of the passengers in the list and then increment them if they survive, basically. So taking that passenger class, so grabbing that class and then -1 there just to account for the zero-based indexing, use that class and then find out which one of these we want to increment. So let's say, for example, this passenger was in class 2, use that 2 in here to access the second point of this array, and then increment that point of that array there. So it basically tells you how many were in that class and only increments the classes there. So it's classes 1, 2, and 3. Same thing goes for the for whether they survived or not within the classes. Basically, yeah, printing that out, just the actual count there, and then just a small for loop here, so two separate for loops that each iterate through the classes. Probably could have combined these two into one giant for loop, but I thought I could just use the single percentage value then and have them separately. Yeah, so division, just dividing the distribution or the actual class itself by the passenger count. Again, multiplying by 100 to give yourself a percentage. Same thing for both of those there, and the output is correctly. Yep, there you go. So we've got class distribution and then survival rates for each member of the class. Alright, so finally this question here, create these graphs. Just going to hit play. Yep. So most importantly and most differently here, we're importing a library or a module, so matplotlib. It's going to give us the ability to use some of these functions here. So aside from the actual the basic, and I'm not going to show that. So the example file, basically used that same code from the example file and changed a few things, got it to work, changed things for the class distribution, and started using these variables that I defined earlier. They're up here. So the length of the class distribution, that's going to give you just the length of this array here, for example, and using that to define the number of bars that we have in here. And then using all the same counters, so the class survive percentage in there. So basically all the same variables from before, not having to recalculate it, just using them again in here. Change the colors, because why not? Also added some labels on there as well. They went in the other one. Labeled the classes, and yeah, so this one is a count, and this one is a percentage, so it's important to note that. So it shows you the actual percentage and quite clearly indicates that the first class passengers had more chance of surviving. Poor old third class passengers, even though there was a lot more of them, so it's pretty tragic what's happening there. I guess that kind of illustrates the point of the visualization. It shows that stuff that wouldn't be so visible if it was just in a spreadsheet, so I think that served its purpose there. Yeah, so showing those individually. There probably was a better way than just duplicating this code. That maybe with a function I could have created a function here to pass these values in and create the table based on that, instead of just duplicating all this code here. Sort of ran out of time there, unfortunately. But yeah, cool. So thanks for watching.